Would you poison yourself if you knew that would make you healthier? Or would you drink your own urine if you knew that would make you healthier?
It's not my favorite.
If you open Instagram, listen to a podcast, go to TikTok, you're gonna see tons of health influencers.
What up, primals?
Showing you how they cold plunge, take weird peptides, take stem cells, fasting, go on mono diets, be it on the carnivore side or on the vegan side. I've tried all of those myself, but there's also a few even weirder things or things that people don't talk about that I've done for my health. In this video, I'm gonna go through them and explain why I did them. And at the end, I'm gonna say which one of them I'm still doing, because some of this stuff you just try out once or twice and then be done with it. First weird thing I would do is I would purposely give myself a diarrhea using salt. This is called a salt water flush. You might have heard people do different colon therapy to cleanse their colon, or enemas.
My name is Trina, and I live in St. Petersburg, Florida.
That's perfect.
And I'm addicted to coffee enemas.
I've done those both, but I was broke and I was traveling, and so I would use salt water. Basically, this means that preferably in the morning, or definitely empty stomach, you're gonna drink a huge amount of water, like an uncomfortable amount of water, like half a gallon or something. It depends on your limit, so the exact amount is not that important. And that water would have a tablespoonful of salt. And it's gnarly at first. I would try to drink a lot of salty water and then fresh water, back it up. And you keep doing that until you get this massive diarrhea for the next 2 to 5 hours, depending on the case. And that was a way for me to cleanse my body. I was traveling a lot in third world countries. It's easy to get a Bali belly, a Delhi belly, whatever they call it at different places. I never got one, and I credit a lot to the fact that I was constantly cleansing my body or forcing myself to have a controlled diarrhea. I don't do this anymore. I would actually rather at home do an enema if I would need to, but it was something that was cheap and you could do it anywhere, anytime. And I did feel great after. I got a burst of energy out of it. And I do think it can help with immunity too, but it is kind of gnarly and the dosing is kind of hard. And it's very, very uncomfortable to drink the high salt water in the very beginning. So if I would rate this as a do or don't, I currently would say don't. I would do it if I wouldn't have access to anything else. I think it's better than nothing. And if you're a single man, but if you are traveling with your wife and kids, it's a don't. The next one is poisoning myself with a frog. This is called combo, or some people call it sapo in Portuguese, but it's basically a poisonous frog's skin secretions that are put on part of a burned skin. You basically burn these little dots on your arm or neck or ankle, and you put a certain amount of this frog poison on you until it starts to affect, and then you kind of scrape it off. This will force you to vomit, maybe poop your pants even, but definitely like cleanse your body. It also is said to have certain alkaloids that do make you feel better temporarily. This is used for a lot of more dramatic healing, people with very serious illnesses. I was just curious, wanted to try it. What's funny about combo, it's often combined or talked in conjunction with psychedelic treatments. Like a lot of people who are into psychedelics are into combo. But to my understanding, combo is actually legal, at least in most places, and it's definitely not psychoactive. Like it's more of a warrior ritual. But it's similar kind of people who are interested in this healing and are willing to do discomfort to get certain benefits. I would not call it psychedelic. I would not use it the same way as a psychedelic. I don't think there's like strong scientific evidence to support combo, but I would be recommending it maybe to someone has some heavy detoxing to do for any reason, or they have some severe illnesses. I do believe that there are some potential benefits there. Do's and don'ts on combo. I think it's even more uncomfortable than the saltwater flush, but I would do it again. I wouldn't do it without a clear purpose. I don't see it as like an ongoing ritual, but I would do it. Next one is I've put gas in my blood. It's ozone gas, so that was kind of gimmicky. But basically, ozone gas is often seen as like a harmful air pollutant, but you can put the ozone because it's a form of oxygen, into your blood to basically like hyperoxygenate your blood. Similar to all of these things, there isn't like hard evidence to support its benefits, but I've done it. I've done it to basically feel better for energy. I think a lot of people do it for different kind of more serious healing purposes, like a lot of these things. And you put it through an injection into your bloodstream. It doesn't last for too long, and sometimes you don't feel anything at the end, so you might feel kind of a lingering dry cough that will go away in like an hour or so, which is uncomfortable. But usually, depending how much ozone you do, you don't feel anything positive or negative in the beginning, and then hopefully in the next few days you'll feel like a burst of energy and you feel better. Ozone is fairly available. You can do it in a bunch of different kind of clinics. I don't know if it's legal in every state. At least some point I had to go from like California to Arizona, but I think you can now get it kind of anywhere. I feel like most people feel pretty good benefits in the first couple times, and then if they do it more often, they don't feel the benefits. It used to be also fairly expensive, and now it's getting more and more affordable. Next one is I would get drunk out of peppers.
I don't know what's in, nothing helps.
I know.
Specifically chili peppers. Most of my 20s and a lot into my 30s, I would not drink any alcohol. People always ask, like, were you in AA or you're religious or something? But no, for mostly health purposes, and I didn't see the value, I would not drink any alcohol. But I was a young man in my 20s, and at that point, there was no Tinder or whatnot, so you would go to bars and clubs to meet people, and they're in a totally different vibration than you are. Now there's amazing sober parties like Daybreaker, highly recommend those. But back then I would just go out at night and hang out with drunk people, and that's not the energy at all. And I wanted something that would lift my vibrations and make me feel high naturally. And I would use peppers, cayenne peppers, or even hotter chili peppers, and I would over spice myself to the point where I'm like crying, uncomfortable.
So lightheaded and giddy and
So if you ever had like ghost pepper, or even a stronger one, Carolina Reaper pepper, or one of these really extra hot peppers, it's ridiculously painful in the beginning, but it also passes by fairly quickly. So in, let's say, 10-15 minutes, depending on the pepper and the dose, you start to feel normal. Actually, you feel a lot better. These compounds in these chili peppers tie into a specific pain receptor, and then it releases dopamine. So the good vibes last hours versus the pain will only last 10 minutes. So just before going to the bar, I would take these huge, strong extracts or peppers and just suffer for 10 minutes and then feel amazing for the longer time after that. Would I do that again or not? It's no. There's other compounds now that I've found that give me a high naturally, that I feel a lot better than suffering. I still like spicy food, if that makes sense, but to go out, first of all, I don't go out. I'm in bed by 8 or 9 p.m. with the kids. But if I would go out somewhere, like we went to stand-up comedy with my wife the one night, I wouldn't have pepper to make me feel better. I would get high in other ways or not at all. But it is an interesting experiment, and I do know a lot of people who get like almost addicted to these hot peppers. Next one is I've zapped worms out of my body with electricity, or kind of low-level electricity. We're talking about a zapper or a Schumann's resonance device, and this is actually pretty solid hard science, but the Earth has low-level frequency of both radiation and electricity, and there's tons of studies on this, very interesting. Most famously, like astronauts and NASA would send people into space and their body would start to de-evolve because they didn't have radiation or electricity around them. Our body is electric and we need this electricity. There's a lot of theories that I subscribe to that believe that Earth's evolution is only possible because of low-level radiation that we've faced. But back to Schumann's resonance device and the zapper. The zapper is a small device. The first one I got was from a friend of mine who made it himself, and it will zap low amounts of frequency into your body. You have it touch your body, and usually I would put it into my waist, so it would touch my belly or gut. And if I had worms, for example, at that point I was traveling a lot, and it would zap them out and hopefully get rid of these intruders in my body. There would sometimes even be like burn signs on my skin. I don't know, was that good or not? What's cool about this is that maybe the worms aside, the actual idea of a Schumann's resonance device is super legit, to the point that many pilots and staff, like flight attendants, use it for jet lag. And if you're in air a lot, if you fly a lot in commercial flights, not even in space, you will start to struggle with certain negative health effects. But if you use the Schumann's resonance device, you can combat those negative effects. A funny story, I was in New Zealand, I had it in my hip and I forgot to take it off before the security scan. So I went through the metal detector thing and they're like, oh, it beeped. Is there anything in your hip? And I lifted my shirt and there's a little black box with a red light dotting like a bomb. And this guy pulled his gun on me and said, what is that? And I was like, oh, it's a Schumann's resonance device. And the guy was like, oh, and reholstered, which is pretty funny because I guess it could have been a bomb as well. And I just said it was a Schumann's resonance device. But they were trained at the New Zealand TSA or whatever it is to know what's a Schumann's resonance device and know that people travel with it. So would I use it again? Yes, I actually have one. I just lost the charger, so I need to find that somewhere. But it's super legit, especially if you travel a lot. Last one, drinking your own urine. Actually, I think we should make an own separate video about this. It's a whole nother rabbit hole, but there is urinotherapy. It's mentioned in a lot of holy books. Urine is very sterile, unlike poop that's, not great for you. But comment below if you want to hear or see a video about urine. If you enjoyed this video, leave a comment below on a weird health thing you've done. I'm always open-minded to new ideas to try them out myself. But yeah, also definitely subscribe if you haven't and check out my other videos somewhere here.